So Hocus Pocus 2 was directed by Anne Fletcher and it stars Bette Midler, Kathy Najimy, and Sarah Jessica Parker, who return once again as the Sanderson sisters. This time around, 30 years after the events of the first Hocus Pocus movie, three high school girls wind up lighting the Black Candle and bring the three Sanderson sisters back to Salem to wreak more havoc, cause more trouble, and maybe just do real harm this time. So this was not a movie I was looking forward to, mainly because this may be a controversial opinion, but I do not like the original Hocus Pocus movie. I don't think it's that funny. I don't think the characters are that fun or interesting. The jokes don't work for me. And I just didn't think it was really that entertaining, to be honest. It just felt, I mean, it was cartoonish enough, but it just didn't really work for me. So when I heard there was a sequel coming out, I was just not excited. It just didn't look interesting. It just made me I just didn't care for it. I just didn't like the idea of a sequel to it. Maybe because I'm not a fan of the first movie, and even when Halloween rolls around, I'm not like, oh, I gotta watch Hocus Pocus. No, never. So I watched this movie a few weeks back, and honestly, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. Granted, this is not really gonna be a positive review, but this is more gonna be, I'm okay with this movie existing, but it just overall it just doesn't really work for me. So the only things in this movie that do work are honestly the performances. Almost all the performances are really good, particularly from the three sisters, Bette Midler, Kathy Najimy, Sarah Jessica Parker. They're having a blast in this movie. It's clear that they had a lot of fun during this movie, and that they had a lot of fun during the original Hocus Pocus. Their chemistry is really good. Also, the actresses who played the young Sanderson sisters, I thought they did a really good job, particularly the actress who played young Winifred. I thought she did a really good job. Also, the only things I really liked from the first Hocus Pocus movie was Doug Jones. I thought he was great in this movie, and I'm glad he got a lot more to do in this movie than he did in the first movie. He was great in this movie as well. Some of the other actors do a good job, even though they're not really big parts. Hannah Waddingham from Ted Lasso, she has a small part. She was all right. And Sam Richardson, he had a few funny moments, but I have problems with his character, which I'll get into. And also, I thought the movie was funnier than the first movie. I don't really remember a lot of the jokes that made me laugh in the first Hocus Pocus, just the jokes that kind of made me roll my eyes. This one, I thought there were actual jokes that actually made me laugh. And also, some of the callbacks work. I kind of like some of the little moments where they do, reference scenes from the first movie, just kind of say the same thing again, or do the same action that you see them walking the same way. That was fun to see. But overall, my issues with this movie stem from the fact that pretty much this movie, especially in the second half, pretty much follows the original Hocus Pocus movie. And that's just something that Disney likes to do. They just like to copy and paste from their movies. They did it with Star Wars, they did it with Mary Poppins, and now they're doing it with Hocus Pocus. And it's not interesting to me because it's just the same thing again. And again, it's mostly in the second half, because the first half, it didn't really bother me so much. Also, some of the other actors in the movie, like the three actresses who played the three characters and who light the candle, they weren't that great in my opinion, but they weren't terrible either. They were kind of just there. They didn't really have much of a personality to me, but at least they can take solace in the fact that they're not Tony Hale in this movie. Tony Hale, man, what? He was on Arrested Development, and he just stars in these really bad movies. He's bad in this movie. I didn't like his characters. Yeah, he has two characters in this movie, and neither of them are interesting. They're just there, and they're just not funny. And you think, oh, because he has a character in the past and a character in the present, they're going to do something with that. No, they don't. They don't at all. They just kind of throw it in there. It's pointless to me that he's playing two characters in this thing. And also, I didn't really like the whole ending of the movie, which this isn't really a spoiler, but characters who do bad things wind up with happy endings. And I don't know if I like that, because I know I've seen movies where, at least decent-hearted characters get bad endings. But this movie, I just kind of felt bad because think about all the things that these characters have done, and they wind up getting rewarded at the end of the movie, not necessarily for their bad acts, but they just get rewarded. And that was kind of my main problem with Sam Richardson. That's the only spoiler I'll give, is that Sam Richardson is actually helping the Sanderson sisters in this movie. I won't explain it, but it just, I don't know, I just kind of felt, I just didn't like that, to be honest. And kind of like with a lot of movies, I just didn't laugh a whole lot. Sometimes it's kind of funny, like how they update certain things, like how in the original they use household objects to, fly and such. This one, they kind of do the same thing because, of course, it's Disney. They got to do the same thing over and over again. They got to change it up at least. So that was kind of fun to see. But for the most part, the jokes weren't as funny as I think they were thinking they were funny. I don't know. I laughed more than the original one, if that makes any sense. But I still didn't laugh a whole lot either. So Hocus Pocus 2, I guess the best thing I can say about it is that it's going to please fans of the original movie. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is just not really a movie for me. Even though some of the performances are really good, and admittedly I got a few chuckles here and there, I just kind of didn't care for the plots. I didn't care for the characters, specific characters like Tony Hale. I didn't like the ending. I didn't like some of the jokes. I didn't like that they abandoned several plot lines in this movie. It's just, it's not a mess. It's kind of like Hocus Pocus. People are going to love this thing. I'm just not in that camp. So because of that, I'll be sort of nice to it. I'll give it 2 out of 4 stars. Stream it. So, what's your favorite movie to watch around Halloween? I probably asked that before, but I might as well ask it again because a lot of people love Hocus Pocus and watch it year round. So, comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat. Stay safe.